Last summer, my husband and I were driving down a highway in Colorado, and we were following a panel truck, a white panel truck, that was representative of some company. And on the back, it had the name of the company and the list of the services that the company provides. So I was looking at that and trying to kind of figure out what this company does. And one of the services listed was fault locator. Fault locator. I was curious about that, and so when I got home, I did a little Google to find out what that was, and I discovered that this company's job was to locate underground cables and find faults in them. Well, I don't know anything about that, but I have known a few fault locators in my life, and maybe you have too. You know those people who find fault in everything and in everyone. They are critical of everything. They've never been to a restaurant that they really enjoyed. There's always something not quite right. Never been on a trip that was perfect. Well, it was too hot, it was too cold, Didn't like the people, didn't like the food. We know these people. Let me assure you, fault locators do not have great days. How interesting it is, though, that sometimes the people that we find the greatest faults in are ourselves. Because you see, we tend to look at other people and we think that somehow their life is a whole lot better than ours. We think that they're prettier and smarter. We think that they're younger. Yeah, they probably are younger. We think they're more successful. Their children, their grandchildren behave better in public than ours do. They have more stuff, and their stuff is better than our stuff. See, we're always comparing ourselves to other people. But Great Days people are the ones who don't really worry so much about other people. They only worry about their own potential and being the best that they can be. When I was growing up, one of the highlights of each year was that every year my family would get together with another family named the Hunters. Now, my mother and her two sisters and all the sisters in the Hunter family had been friends since pre-college and pre-marriage. They had known each other forever. And it was always fun to get together with this family. And between the families, there were 7 kids. And we all ranged in age. There was about a 4 or 5 year age range. Well, it was great fun to get together with this family. But there were 3 things that I knew would always happen anytime we got together with the Hunters. Number 1 is that my mother would always bring her wonderful baked beans because everybody requested them. And my Aunt Edna would bring her coleslaw. Those 2 things I knew would happen. But a third thing that would happen was one that I didn't like very much. At some point during the evening, the adults would stop our play and tell all the children to line up against a wall to determine who was the tallest. Now, I hated that. I hated it. I was the oldest of the 7 children, but I was the most vertically challenged. But much was made of who was the tallest and who had grown the most since we had all been together. It wasn't fair, I didn't think. I drank my milk and I ate my vitamins, and I never ever could exceed and be taller than the rest of those kids. Now, I later figured out that my mother was 5'3", my dad was 5'10". I didn't have a chance. But what I was doing was measuring myself against someone else's yardstick, against a measure for which I could not compete. When you were growing up, did your parents ever have you stand up against a door frame in your home and put a little mark at the top of your head and then measure to see how tall you were? We did that too at my house, and every year on my birthday, they'd make a mark, and so then the next year it was always exciting to see if I had grown any at all. We didn't paint much at our house, and so we had a lot of marks on the on the door. But what if, when you were growing up, what if someone had said to you, reach up, little girl, reach up just as high as you can. And instead of making the mark at the top of your head, what if they made it at the tips of your fingers? What if someone's concern was not how tall you were, but how high you could reach? That's measuring against your own yardstick, your own potential, what you have to offer. And let me assure you that people who do that have more great days.